You're listening to Sarah Cudmore from Homegrown Learning's podcast, which is sponsored by Collage, the app for easily storing your home learning in one place, creating a beautiful portfolio of learning for your young people. So I am super excited to record this podcast this evening. Anyone who has or is homeschooling will know that as an incredible journey as home educating is, there is a level of intensity in the fact that every aspect of your home life becomes exposed and slightly unraveled. And it can feel really overwhelming, and feelings of like needing to hold everything together, and then the whole family, worrying about the whole family and how everyone's feeling, and trying to navigate your way through that can be and feel like you're swimming through thick mud. And it can actually feel quite isolating and quite exhausting. And I'm speaking from experience. But, I'm sure there's some homeschool mamas out there that, have not experienced those, but I know there are a lot of mums who have. So, and that's why I'm recording this podcast today, to help people see just another way of unraveling that homeschool life, so that you can kind of live and flow more easily. And I'm super grateful to be joined by the wonderful Essie Richards. I've watched Essie navigate homeschooling with such conviction. She has the biggest heart. She has a huge wealth of understanding and knowledge, and is so researched. Every time I speak to Essie, she's taken another pathway and she's explored something else, and it's just so fascinating. So as well as since recording our last podcast, as well as setting up an agile learning center, she's become a certified sacred depths practitioner, which is known as transformational coaching. And she's agreed to do a little podcast with us today, to just help us kind of think, to help us in times of overwhelm. And she's got there's a little special surprise for anybody who's a Homegrown Learning listener at the end. So do stay tuned to hear what that is. But Essie, thank you so much for coming tonight, and for giving us your time and your knowledge.
Oh, thank you for having me. It's lovely to be here with you again.
And so we're not recording this podcast about your Agile Learning Centre, but I do think that would make a really super recording, because you've been on a good year's journey now. So look out for that one in the future. And congratulations on doing that and setting it up. And I know that in itself is not an easy task, but to have also qualified in this field at the same time is huge. And us, home ed mums with thousands of things to do, it's so exciting to hear that you've found the pathways to do that. So congratulations. And so tell us, talking about the motivation to do all of this, what has been your calling to become a coach?
That's such a good question. And thank you for your congratulations. I think my motivation came about because I was doing lots of big thinking about really tuning into what we wanted as a family, and what would really light us up as a family, and what kind of adventures we wanted to have in alignment with our values and all our individual needs. And I really wanted to generate some income so that we could have some really big cultural adventures together. And that felt like something that was really going to light us up and feed us and nourish us individually, but also connect us as a family. And up until this point, we've just been, it's just my husband that's been bringing in income. And so sort of anything beyond day-to-day living has been out of reach for us. And so as I tuned into what livelihood I'd like to do and would make the most of the things that of my natural sort of gifts, I started to explore all the things that I was passionate about. And I'm massively passionate about somatic experiencing therapy, as you'll know. Um, Basically, it brought me my freedom. And so I started to explore becoming a psychotherapist so I could become a somatic experiencing therapist. But it just didn't align with our capacity or rural living. So it's all you need to access universities. So I started to explore other avenues, and coaching kept coming up, but all the coaching courses seemed really sort of masculine and sort of just missing a lot of the things that were really important to me. And I was having a conversation with a friend who pointed me in the direction of sacred depths coaching. And as soon as I read their sort of intro page, I knew it was most likely for me. So yeah, so it was a mixture of things really that motivated me. I really love sharing with people the things that have helped me. And I really love spending time with people, unraveling and allowing people to sort of access more freedom and joy in their lives as well. Yeah.
And I'm not sure whether everyone will understand what coaching is, because like nowadays, in terms of sort of holistic therapies and all sorts, there is just like it's a minefield of stuff out there. Can you explain a bit about this particular coaching and what it entails, and maybe how it's different to perhaps the traditional life coaching? Or
yeah I really struggle with the name of coach, actually, because I think I just mentioned I sort of associate it with quite a masculine energy, like someone in a suit telling you how to achieve your goals in a 6-step program that's the same for everyone, and come on, you can do it. But the coaching that I offer is I guess I'm more about being your guide and your cheerleader. So I offer sort of deep listening, seeing, compassion. And it does feel really sacred, as I truly believe each person is a divine human, despite what they might feel about themselves and what their life experience has taught them. And so we're really co-creating transformation. So it's not about quick results, although my goal would always to be to empower somebody to take something away from each session. And it's about creating a space where women can fall in love with themselves, really, and come home to themselves and their own inner wisdom. And I think what I do is gently bring awareness. I trust your body as the expert, and it offers so many clues about what's needed and desired. So it's a lot about unraveling, healing, and really sort of deepening this love affair with yourself. And that's a path that I'm sort of really committed to. So, I'm really committed to that work within my own life. And so it's just about bringing that to other people so they can enjoy that freedom too.
Yeah. You've talked a little bit about this already, but kind of what do you feel that this kind of coaching can offer a homeschool parent? Because life for a homeschool parent is quite different, really.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, I mean, I think women are so unsupported in our society, full stop. And it seems to me that women feel, they have to do everything as well as a man, in addition to keeping a house and keeping everything, on top of everything. And I just think if we choose to homeschool as a woman, that we sort of almost have to prove that we can do everything as well as that. With very little time for ourselves, and yet we're expecting to create environments where our children can really flourish with very little time to ensure that we're flourishing as sort of the heart of the family. So for me, it feels like women who homeschool absolutely deserve support. And the very practice of creating spaces for our children that are safe and full of trust and support, that in itself confronts so many parts of our own selves that didn't receive those things as children,
Yeah.
that deserve love, attention, warmth, compassion. And we often neglect our own needs and have very little time to hear our own wisdom. So
Mm.
it feels like creating this space for schooling women is kind of essential. It feels like every woman should have it on tap, basically. And then you go back to your families with so much more. But even aside from that, you deserve this as a sort of divine human. Yeah.
Mm. Yeah. And I think, you know, I touched on it a little bit earlier on about the sort of, in my own experience, the home education just unravels, exposes so
Mm,
much of your own childhood and of your own kind of triggers and all
mm,
sorts of things that become so raw, and that actually you know, if you don't find space to acknowledge and kind of work with some of those,
mm,
it can actually sort of, it can make quite an unhappy homeschool experience for you.
mm,
And I think, you know, I've definitely learnt, um and it took me quite a while really to learn that actually, until you start putting yourself first,
mm,
you know, actually, you know, children react better when you are in a better space. And it kind of like, it, for me certainly, it felt really selfish doing that. It felt, you know, it was layered with sort of you know, guilt, and I can't afford this, I haven't got the time for this, I, all those things. But actually, when I started to allow myself to do those things, everything kind of shifted in our family. It created capacity for me to be able to deal with some of the things that I was being faced with. And so I
mm,
think, you know, I'm not saying that everybody, you know, this is necessarily right for everybody, but it is about, isn't it, it's about
mm.
finding some space to acknowledge your needs and your wants and your
Yeah.
um and acknowledging what your body's telling you, and
Mm,
finding space to kind of tune in and say, you know, God, I'm really knackered, or I'm feeling
mm,
here, or, you know, I'm really emotional, or I'm feeling really insecure, or, you know, and actually delving into kind of what and why. And
mm,
um yeah. um
mm.
so how does, you know, maybe I already answered this, but how do you feel that someone knows, you know, someone who's maybe not reached out to any other kind of therapies before, how do you know that coaching's going to be kind of helpful for you? Do you?
I mean, I'm a massive believer in we don't really know until we try something.
Mhm.
um, and I think if you know, or you've got a sense that you just really yearn for some support, but
Mm.
even if you can't quite yet believe that you're, that you should have that, or that, you deserve to have access to that. But if you yearn for some support, then coaching is one of the options that's available to you, to give you that support.
Mm.
And I think you should check out what's available
Mm.
and see what resonates with you. There's so much there. Um, Check people's content out, check testimonies out, and then just see how it feels to you. And if it feels like it sounds like something that's going to be really supportive, sleep on it, and and then give it a go. All coaches basically want what's best for you. No one's going to hold you to something. So yeah, you can just give something a go. And most coaches and healers, they offer like a complimentary session so you can touch base and ask the exploratory questions and suss out whether you're a good fit without any commitment. So
Mm.
that's quite a nice way to do that.
And I guess now that you know, things can be done via Zoom and all of
Yeah.
it, that's, whilst it is lovely to have in-person sessions, I did some amazing breathwork sessions at the weekend. It was so lovely to be present with another group, a group of people doing it. But at the same time, when you are a busy homeschool mum, this is great to be able to carve out, a 45-minute window and actually give yourself that time. Right. There are lots of people out there, and it's about finding your, having a good look and seeing if those, there's somebody for everybody. So it's, there's a whole variety of coaching or holistic kind of therapies or whatever. So it is about looking in. One thing that I think I found really useful is that initially I thought I would get that kind of support or be listened to, like some of the communities like Facebook, and then there was some little WhatsApp groups and things like that. And then I thought that didn't really work for me, and I didn't really feel like I was being heard, not because there were too many people in the group. But then I thought through the home ed groups that I go to, that I'll have mama time and it'll be fine and I can chat. And one of the groups that I go to, just is totally about the children just playing with their friends, and the connection in terms of adult understanding of each other is sort of more is not quite there. And then the other group where there's loads of connection between the mamas, there just isn't the space to do that because the children are there and around, and it's like it's disjointed. So for me, the coaching that I had was just being one-on-one, so incredibly powerful. And I felt that I didn't need a lot, but I also felt it was really nice to have experienced some, and then to be able to come back to that person, to revisit, like in the old days where you might have had some counselling and you might have had 10 weeks of counselling and that was your sort of stint, and then you were fixed and you kind of went on. And I think like there's always stuff emerging in your journey, and it just feels nice to have built a rapport to be able to then go back at times of like, so
totally. I absolutely do the same myself. I still have coaching, and there'll be seasons where I might have 2 or 3 sessions and then I'll be fine for a while and then I'll dip back in. And it's really lovely actually to have that just out there, to have someone you can dip back into if you want. That in itself feels really supportive. And I think just that act of saying, I am worth this time, this amount of time and this amount of money as an investment in myself, that is a sacred act of love for yourself. And even that act alone can be quite shifting in terms of your life and what you're able to receive and the help you're able to receive.
And that's totally where I was coming from with kind of the sort of guilt I felt initially about, I can't really afford this. Actually this is this much money. And then once I got over that and I was like, actually it's not forever. And actually the minute I'd had a session and I felt so good, I was like, the money didn't become an issue. It was like, it was something I needed to get over in a way, and sort of like value. It taught me to value myself. And there's a lot of I think a lot of homeschool mums who particularly have are not earning and their partners are, and that sort of kind of guilt about spending anything on themselves. And it's like you say, once you just start to invest in yourself, that little bit of time, that little bit of money, it actually and you make it work. It's funny at money like that, isn't it?
It really is. And also you're modeling the most amazing thing to your kids, which is what I think homeschooling is really all about now. If I could put it down to one nutshell, you're modeling some really authentic behaviors. And I totally want my kids to really love themselves, be in this really loving relationship with themselves, really value themselves and listen to their needs and meet their needs. And if I'm not doing that, then they've got no model of that. It's just words. I might be able to say it or I might do it to them. But if they see me taking this time, and we don't necessarily even have to talk about it, but it's just like there's a blueprint set down in their minds, that this is what you do. You look after yourself. You take what you need to take with the capacity that you have, It's really important.
Yeah, and sharing that, and saying to the kids, like, just having a tricky couple of days at the moment. I'm just feeling like I need to go to bed really early tonight, and or I need to book in and go and have that session is really powerful, and it gives them the ownership, doesn't it, to be recognize, that actually, yeah, that's what makes me feel good. That's what can pick me up. My son's just realized that having a really big bath, a really big soak, makes him feel so good and can take him out of, so we've had days where he's like having 2 big baths a day, and it's like but the beautiful thing about it is he knows it works for him, and that's isn't it, that's the learning. It doesn't matter what time of day, bath. So it's just the little things that I can see being embedded, and him taking ownership and start recognizing what his needs are. And
and I say I'm modeling this to my kids, but I think I believed in it for them before I believed in it for myself. And so they did believe in it, and I think that they have modeled so much to me around rest and being honest about what they need, and taking that far more than I ever knew was possible. So they do model to us too, and I've learned a huge amount from them around looking after myself and valuing myself.
Totally. Although we're giving them that space to do that, so it's kind of like, but absolutely. And so if somebody's interested in coaching, what do coaching sessions with you look like?
So they look a little bit different from everyone. I'd say there's the same feeling. So we always start with a visioning session, which is basically where we just spend a little bit of time where I'm getting really clear about what it is that you're desiring more of, or that you want to step into, or you want to create in your life. And then we do a guided visualization where you're really bypassing everything in your mind that you think you should have or be or say, and you're going directly into the wisdom of your body, really. So you're tuning into your essence, and using a guided visualization, we just ask questions and we get really, really clear about your body wisdom, about what you want to create in your life and what that could look like. And that's a little bit like intention. So we then, we've set this clear intention, and Elizabeth Finocchiaro, who's a breathwork practitioner, says intention is like GPS. So once we set intention, it's like, that's the way we're going. And then the next, I work in cycles of 6 as a beginning. And so then the next few sessions, once you set an intention, we just notice what starts to come up, because it's almost like a bit of a detox process. So I've put this stake in the ground, and now I'm noticing loads of fear. Now I'm noticing, oh my gosh, all these negative thoughts, this self-doubt, loads of anxiety. All of these things that come up are where the work starts, or where we do the work. And we do that really intuitively and really gently, with loads of compassion. So I think in our society, we're really taught to kind of like fix things, identify, fix, power through, sort, get on with it, And so this is actually the absolute opposite. It's about slowing right down and really noticing, really tuning in what's coming up, and not being afraid of that. So I guess I'm creating a safe space where I'm not afraid of it, even if you are, that we can look at this, we can look at these fears. What are these fears telling us? What are they saying that they need, that they're missing, that they want to speak to you about. And then we lean in with lots of compassion and and lots of love, really, because often these things are really parts of us that didn't have that at a certain point in our life. And so that's where the healing sort of takes place. And then it's really important that you follow up with a sort of embodied practice, because that's where sort of long lasting transformation happens. So again, in line with who you are and what you can manage and what you feel would be good, you kind of make a little plan around the things that you're going to do the following week that can start to really embed that change. And all the while, we're just keeping focused on the original intention that was set and moving towards that. And that's how the sessions go, really. Yeah.
That's how I think that's really helpful. I think particularly, like you say, all coaches do things differently, but it's, and if you haven't experienced anything like this before, it's nice to kind of have that understanding of what it looks like. So there will be mamas out there that I'm sure are like, yes, I really, really want to do that, but money is an issue for them, depending on their kind of circumstances and things. Do you have any suggestions for things that, whilst people are sort of putting the feelers out and thinking, yeah, that would work for me, but I can't afford it right now? Is there anything you would sort of give us, your secrets?
Yeah, I mean, totally. I would start with what the things that you really love. So especially if you're overwhelmed, sometimes we think, oh, if I made myself did some online yoga or whatever, and we just can't quite get there, or it feels quite like we're making ourselves. So start with the things that you really, really love. And then there are just so many great free resources out there. So follow people that you really love on Instagram, because coaches such as myself will be giving things all the time on there, because we want to share the things that we love and that we're passionate about, and they can really be really nourishing. And then there's things that I used to use some compassion-based meditation. Tara Brach is a real favorite of mine, and she's on Spotify, totally free, so you could just listen to her meditations, really short and doable. I used to put on the headphones and just put on a timer with my kids and be like, I'm going to do 10 minutes. Here's the timer. Just, shout if you need me. There's some beautiful somatic dancing practices on Instagram, just where you can just shake your body, or, you can loosen the tension in your jaw by doing that sort of horse kind of, that kind of thing. And these are just things that you can just do like in, seconds.
Yeah.
You can look up breathing techniques. If you love swimming, cold water swimming is really beautiful. Make a list of all the things that make your heart sing, because they're often just really tiny little things that, when we're overwhelmed or in fight or flight, or just, in the total stress sort of mode in our life, or really focused on our children, we forget to just do the very small things that can really bring joy into our life. And so making a list of all the things that make your heart sing can just be a little reminder to, it's like, I always think like, if someone wrote a manual about me, like, these are all the things that make Essie feel alive and loved and nourished. Like, what would be in that? It's like putting on some really good tunes and having a little dance for a minute in the kitchen when no one's around, or sitting on the step of my kitchen door and just having a little cuppa and listening to the birds sing. We can forget that those little things actually make huge differences, because we think we need this huge thing to fix us. So I guess they're the things that I would really offer. Asking yourself daily, what would I, Essie, like to do today? Not what have I got to do, what are we doing, what are the kids doing? But amongst that, what would I like to do today? What does my body need today? Just taking a second just to really tune in and listen. And there might be a bit of chatter that comes, and just go beyond that what does my body need today? I might just need a bit of gentle, loving touch. It might need more water than I've been drinking the last few days. What is there one thing? What's the one thing I could do that would make everything else easier? And just take a second just to listen and just don't doubt what comes up. I think we doubt that inner wisdom so much. We've forgotten how to listen to it, and we don't have time. We don't make time to create space to tune in. But really, that's the essence of the coaching work I do. Everything that you need to know about your life is within you. And all I do is create a space where I help you tune into that. So that when you finish the sessions with me, you've got that for life. You can tune into that on a daily basis and keep building on that and keep coming back to more of that, getting to know yourself and how you work and what you need, more and more.
Often people think they're big things that you need to do. So like even thinking that, I might have some coaching that might be half an hour, 45 minutes out of my day, and I can't afford that. But actually, or I can't give myself that time. But actually, it's those small little things that you give yourself, like that cup of tea on the, or like getting up half an hour earlier just to enjoy the stillness, and actually the building up those little things that you love that help you to value and love yourself in such a strange way that you can't foresee until you start doing and implementing some of those little things. And we've just got into such a society, we've got into such a fast pace of doing things and sort of not breathing properly, not looking up, not reflecting. And actually the danger is, because home educating, you're with your children 24/7, and lots of families don't have external support or help or whatever, that can feel overwhelming too in terms of time and space. So just lovely hearing some of those little things that you could start put into place.
And what I would say is sometimes those little things aren't enough. Some of us have had experiences where we've been really deeply hurt and wounded, and as a result, we have really harsh thoughts about ourselves and about other people, and we really need help and space to be able to unravel those things so we can access the little joys in the day. So I definitely remember thinking, I'm doing all the little things, I'm doing my yoga, I'm doing my swimming, and it's I'm still totally overwhelmed, and I needed more support. So those things are a start, and if it's not cutting the biscuit, is that the right saying? I don't know if it is. Then it's just a little pointer in the direction that you need and deserve more support.
It's a good point. And actually that's so true, because actually sometimes that whole process of potentially even deschooling and sort of starting out the home ed journey brings up so much stuff that you just didn't know even existed, or you didn't allow to come to the surface. And it's a really good point that sometimes you do need more than just a quick joyful 5 minutes with your cup of tea and the birds.
Yeah, totally. And sometimes coaching isn't enough either. I really love the coaching that I trained in, because it's really trauma informed. And there's been people that have come to me and I've just said, like, this is not going to be enough for you. I'm not a therapist, and you really deserve a really healing therapeutic space to unravel in. And I think, again, that's cool, because that's like the next step. And then people can use trauma-informed spaces to move them into a place that they need to go. And often people like myself, we have access to really good therapist recommendations. So, yeah.
That's lovely. It's lovely to hear that you kind of got that network, and you can identify when somebody's needs are kind of more than you feel the space is for. So that is so it's just so nourishing to kind of think that hopefully people listening might actually start to think about themselves and start to recognize that they can value themselves and they can try some of these things. So that's great. Your point about, you know, following Instagram, and that your Instagram and Facebook page is so beautiful. I love some of your imagery and the sort of the wisdom that you share. So definitely we'll put those links to that in the show notes, and hopefully other people can get that cozy feeling of being supported, even
Thank
just
you.
through your soothing words on there. So no, great. And yeah, so you can follow Essie, but Essie has also really kindly offered to give all homegrown learning podcast listeners a free 20-minute consultation. And if you quote Homegrown Learning podcasts in your email or message to Essie, she's also offering a 10% off any coaching sessions that you have, and that will be validated until the end of May 2023. So, you know, do make the most of that if you can. As ever, thanks for your time today. It's weird, whenever I'm with you, I always feel heard when I'm in your presence, and I just feel like you get it. It's very comforting talking to you. So thank you so much for coming into this space this evening. And I really look forward to recording another podcast about your Agile Learning Centre, because that's super exciting too. But yeah, if you would like to contact Essie, her email is in the show notes,essiejrichards@gmail.com. And if you have any stories that you would like us to explore or share or cover, then just drop us a line at hello@collageapp.co.uk. And just until next time, keep calm and feel supported on your journey. Lots of love.